Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Now today's video is really going to be focused on Infinix brand new device. As you can see from the title above, I do have the Infinix Note 12 G96 here in my hand, and I've been using it for the past few days, and I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. Now, just to not be confused, the Note 12 itself comes in two variants. There is the G88 version and my version here, which is the more powerful one, the G96. Alright, having said that, this device here launched in Malaysia at a very attractive price point of under 800 ringgit. To be honest, I'm also still glad that we have brands like Infinix who are pushing off these kind of budget phones. So those people out there who still do not have a lot of budget, they are still sort of taken care of. Well, let us see, for the amount of money, what do you really get with the Infinix Note 12 G96? I'll be going over a couple of key features and everything that you might need to know in case you are wondering whether or not you should purchase this guy. And with that said, let's jump into the video right away. Now, first things first, we got to talk a bit about the design. We do have three different colors for the Infinix Note 12 G96. Now, mine here is the one in black, obviously, and it is a little bit different from the other colors because this one does come with a couple of wavy lines at the back. That is actually a sort of a texture at the back as well, because you can feel it with your own fingers. It's not like they just printed something onto it. There is an actual texture at the back that me personally, I don't really like it, but I believe some of you guys out there might like this kind of thing. So that's that. Now, in terms of the slimness, it's actually a fairly slim device coming in at just 7.88 millimeters. So also very lightweight, so you don't have to worry about your phone being too heavy and all that. Now, if you take a look at the frame itself, we have flat sides that goes all around, and this definitely makes the phone look and even feel more premium than the price it's asking for. Alright, so moving down to the bottom, we do notice that we do have that Type-C port. You have dual stereo speakers here, guys, and it sounds quite good. Apart from that, you also still have your headphone jack, but somehow, it's not really aligned to the frame itself. So I'm not too sure about that, but at least you still have the headphone jack. Now, on the right, you do have your volume rocker together with that fingerprint scanner lock button, and on the left, you do have your SIM card tray that actually supports micro SD. So in case you feel that the memory is not enough, you can always just purchase an SD card, a micro SD card externally, and just pop it in. That would solve your problems. Now, moving on to the back, there's actually quite an interesting feature here, and that is in terms of the cameras at the back. Now, if you take a look at this, you might think that we actually have a triple camera setup over here, and you might not be wrong. We do have two actual cameras here, a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and the third one down here is actually for display purposes. So actually you only get two sensors, guys. Do not be fooled by this third eye at the bottom. Alright, so having said that, overall design wise, I think it's fine. I mean, for the price point, definitely a quite interesting, quite minimalist, flat sides all around. It does look the job. Alright, so let's move on and talk a little bit about the next thing, and that is in terms of the front. We do have that 6.7-inch 1080p AMOLED display. Now, for the price of just under 800 ringgit, having an AMOLED display here is definitely good. Unfortunately, it only comes in at 60Hz refresh rate. I would have hoped it came with at least 90Hz, but at least the AMOLED display here is actually quite alright. In terms of your contrast levels and saturation levels, you can't really compare this AMOLED panel to more expensive ones. It does the job quite well, but in terms of brightness levels, it doesn't get very high. In terms of the viewing angles, it's also not the best out there. Now, the good news here is that it's great for watching all kinds of videos. Unfortunately, Netflix HD is not supported here because it's only L3 for the security rating and all that. So you don't get to watch Netflix in HD, you can only watch it in SD standard definition. But if you want to watch YouTube, play your games and all that, I think this large 6.7-inch display is still doing a fairly good job, especially if you just like to watch normal kind of videos on YouTube. This one should do the trick pretty well. Alright, so that's just in terms of the display. Now, in terms of the processor, yes, I did mention earlier on, it came with the Helio G96. Now, this processor is actually quite outdated by today's standards, but in terms of performance, it still performs quite similarly to something like the Snapdragon 680. So you might be familiar with that processor. We are seeing a lot of those budget phones today using the Snapdragon 680, but we do have the Helio G96 here. Just in terms of gaming, I noticed that I was able to play Mobile Legends, PUBG, and even Free Fire very smoothly without much lags or delays on medium graphics settings. So I won't really complain about the gaming performance here because it can definitely handle games. Now in terms of day-to-day use, it's also quite smooth in launching your applications. There's no like lags or stutters and serious kind of lagginess in the phone itself. Everything is actually quite smooth here on the Infinix Note 12 G96. Another good thing I want to mention here is in terms of the haptics engine. Now it's not using the best haptics engine, but it does come with, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Z-axis linear haptics. So that means that the vibrations are also quite short, very crisp, and they're not like those, you know, tardy kind of feeling. So good to have proper haptics in here. Now moving on, let's talk about that cameras at the back. Like I mentioned earlier on, you have your 50 megapixel main sensor, you have a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and that third sensor for display purposes. Alright, so in terms of the pictures, I was actually quite pleasantly surprised. Now let me explain. Daytime shots looks quite alright. It's just decent for the, again, for this price range. You have sufficient details, you have a good amount of dynamic range, and of course, in terms of the colors, it's not to say super saturated, it's actually quite toned back to look quite natural. So I think that's quite okay in terms of daytime shots. However, when it came to nighttime shots, this is where I got quite surprised because the phone itself was able to brighten a very, very dark scene. Not only that, it was actually able to brighten the image by quite a lot, guys. So again, I was taking a couple of images at night, just testing out the Note 12 G96, and I noticed a lot of these images actually look very, very good, guys. So that's pretty much what I can say in terms of the camera. In terms of daytime shots, you get decent pictures, and in terms of nighttime shots, you get very bright night images. So I think that's great. Alright, so last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the battery as well as the charging speeds. Now for your battery, you do get a 5000 mAh battery in here, which I think is quite good considering the device is quite slim. In terms of the charging speeds, you get a 33 watt fast charge charger in the box, but it actually takes more than an hour to charge from 0 to 100%. So it's not really super fast or anything like that. It's just faster than your typical 5 to 10 watt charger from last generation. Alright guys, so that pretty much sums up my experience with the Infinix Note 12 G96. Overall, for the price of under 800 ringgit, I still think that this device is something that you should consider if your budget is within that price range. You do get a couple of decent features on board, and of course it's not the best, but it's still doing a great job at being a budget phone. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the Infinix Note 12 G96. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have further questions, I'll also try to help you out. Last but not least, don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel, and I hope to see all of you guys in the next one. Stay safe everybody. Bye!